are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So my dream run is over. I have to learn this fucking language now. I don't have an option now, I don't think. I didn't want to learn it because I didn't want to be involved in conversations. I just wanted to be left out of everything, alone in some corner somewhere. And every now and then just yell out a word that I have no idea what it means, but it makes people laugh. And that has worked fucking perfectly well for 7 years. But it's over now. For starters, no one gives a shit about the 3 words I know anymore. They don't give a shit. I'm getting no reactions. I'm not getting any bang for my buck. They haven't said anything, but you can tell they're going like, yeah, that was cute 7 years ago, fatty. We've given you 7 years of laughs out of that joke. It's enough now. We don't fucking care. Learn a couple of new words and we'll see what happens. So that's one reason I need to learn the language, because I'm just not getting the laughs I used to. But the main reason is because I have kids now. I have a walking, talking, asking questions fucking kid now. And when we leave the house, I just become a third kid for my wife. I just get her to do everything for me. It's fucking sweet, but it's not going to last. Everything. I'm like, babe, can you get me a watermelon juice, please? She's like, just order it yourself. I'm like, I don't know how to ask. What's the word for watermelon? She's like, just say watermelon. I'm like, I don't want to just say watermelon. Can you just ask for me? And then she says something in fucking Indian I don't understand. That doesn't sound very nice. And then I'm like, babe, can you also ask him not to put in any extra sugar? And it's just too humiliating, especially with my son there. I can't take my own son out of the house by myself because I don't know what the fuck's going on. I mean, I can do it. It's just not going to be a smooth operation. And if we turned a wrong corner or something, it's possible we would never find our way back home. It's just too fucking embarrassing. That's what kids do for you. They hold a mirror up to your inadequacies. So if you just want to enjoy your life and never be dealt the brutal, brutal truths of who you are, then don't have kids. That's all I can say. Do not have kids because it's unavoidable. Unless you leave them, unless you just have a kid and then just fuck off, which I understand completely. Like, I wouldn't recommend abandoning your kids because they'll just track you down on Facebook later on anyway, and then you have to deal with that shit, which is almost worse than just neglecting them for 20 years. But I definitely understand the dad that goes out for a pack of darts and never fucking comes back. So anyway, I'm like, I have to fucking bite the bullet now. I have to learn this language. It's going to also help me in other areas like comedy and buying watermelon juice. Fuck, I had a good watermelon juice today. It was almost the best watermelon juice I've ever had in my entire life. It was so fucking sweet, and they had chunks of watermelon in it as well. So you would take a sip and then chew on some watermelon pieces. Fuck, it was good. But I spent about 8 hours today trying to work out the grammar to this fucking language. It has been an absolute fucking nightmare because I was learning words, but I had no idea where to put them. I had no idea where these words were meant to go with other words. I had no idea. I have no idea. But I spent 8 hours today. 8 fucking hours. I woke up at like 7:30 and I'm like, I'm just going to do this all day until I figure it out. I need to understand the grammar of this language. So then I started looking into grammar and I realized I don't even really know English grammar. I have very little idea what the fuck is going on in the English language. Like, I understand what a verb is, I understand what a noun is, I understand what a pronoun is, and then it gets a little bit shaky after that. I don't really know what an adjective is. I have no idea, actually. Even though I've looked it up maybe 1,000 times, for some reason, that never sticks in my head what a fucking adjective is. So every time I need to figure out what an adjective is, I fucking have to Google it and relearn it. So if I don't know what an adjective is, I certainly didn't know what an auxiliary verb is, and tensing verbs and all that sort of shit. So I had to relearn English grammar pretty much from scratch. What am I talking about? I didn't relearn it. I'm just learning it. So I was just doing YouTube tutorials and I was getting fucking nowhere. And my wife has tried to work with me a little bit, but if we continue this, it's going to end up in divorce. And I don't want to get divorced until I know the fucking language so I can get home. So I'm trying to put together these sentences, and the structure of the sentence is completely fucking different to sentences in Australian. So in Australian, you say, I'm going to the shops. And in Kannada, in this language, you say, I shops going. And I'm like, all right, that's fucking retarded. And I was going through sentences like that over and over again. And I just wasn't clicking. Nothing was clicking until right at the end of the day, I was going over these sentences and I noticed that in that sentence, I am going to the shops. When you say it in Kannada, you say, I shops going. And I was like, what's the word for am? So I asked my wife, I'm like, what's the word for am in Kannada? And she's like, actually, there is no word for am in Kannada. And I'm like, well, what kind of word is am? And I looked it up and it's a verb. And the word am adds tense to the verb to be. So you say, I am. And that's present tense. And then you say, I was. And the was makes that verb, I, past tense. I didn't know all this until I looked it up fucking today. And then if you're saying you are, the are makes the you, as in Y-O-U, a present tense verb. This is getting confusing, I know. And then if you say you were, that makes it past tense. Are you sticking with me? Don't worry. I'm doing this in 3 minutes. It took me fucking 8 hours to work this shit out. So anyway, I'm like, all right, what is the word in Kannada for is? And she's like, there is no word for is in Kannada. And I'm like, all right, what is the word for are? She's like, no, there's no word for are. I'm like, what about was? No. Were? No. Have been? No. I will? No. So I'm like, holy shit. So for the verb to be, there is no tensing. In this language, there is no I am, I was, you are, you were. There's none of this shit. So I'm like, what do they use instead of that? And they don't use anything. They just say, I ran, I running. And that's all they do. There's none of that extra horse shit. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's sweet then. The only problem is, and it's quite a big fucking problem actually, the word run changes depending on who the subject is. So if you say I ran, the ran in that is one word. If you say you ran, the ran in that is a different word. If you say she ran, the ran is fucking different. If you say he ran, that ran is different. If you say we ran, that's different. If you say they ran, that's different. If you say I running, that's one word. If you say you running, that's a different word. If you say they running, that's a different word. Etc., 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 fucking etc. So what they've done getting rid of the tense in the verb to be, they've put it in the regular verb, like running. So there's like 7 different words for drinking, for eating, for running, depending on who you're talking about. It is a problem. It is a big problem because it took me 7 years to memorize 3 fucking words. And now I have to memorize 7 different words for wanking. I think this is going to be a problem, people. I hope it made sense actually because I did not know any of that shit until today. But yeah, anyway, it feels like I'm about 7 days trek from even getting to the bottom of Mount Everest. And I'm meant to be going to the top of Everest and I can't even see it yet. So yeah, anyway, that's it for tonight and I'll see ya the fuck later.